caught or the river caught on fire and
Yeah,
all the good stuff.
you can walk across.
Yep.
Tom, we need you to forward.
I did.
There's another one.
Oh, all right. I'll do that after this meeting.
Yeah, that's fine. I just I might need to send it again then because I don't know how long that reset thing is good for. So it says you already have a account and username, so I don't know.
There, it's sent. Okay, we've got some new people online here. If we may, let's David Haw, thank you for, where are you?
Columbia, Maryland for Hibbard.
How about you, Mr. Patrick?
You remember Butch?
I do. I forget where he was from.
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay, yeah, Tom, this is Butch Patrick, Meridianville, Alabama, Huntsville.
Huntsville, yeah, you're just a stone throw away. How about you, John Chung? Chicago. Have to hop off in a bit. John, sunny California. I don't know why everybody says sunny California. Why don't they say California that's taxed through the kazoo?
I
Let's
have
go
never
about that.
said sunny California, just to be on the record.
Keep talking about this beautiful state of Taxicornia. Well, welcome everybody. Got some new people here as well. I've got behind me, the Professionals Forum up for a reason. This is coming up here in about 2.5 weeks, and I've got some of the best presenters in the country that are going to be joining me. David McKnight, Van Miller, Jim Ruda, Turner Thompson. Myself, Mary Jo Ehrman, one of the best storytellers in the world. And when they're on stage, there's no selling of books, DVDs, or CDs. It's all going to be about how to communicate and make insurance products a want rather than a need. And that's coming up here in a couple of weeks. And we've got some discount codes. If you want to attend, we will give you a discount code. But we're not to get this type of speakers in the same room at the same time is quite a feat. So it's going to be a very intimate venue. We've got the Country Music Auditorium. We will be at the most half full. So it's going to be a great opportunity during breaks to be able to rub shoulders with some of the best in the business. And it's not like an MDRT event where there's hundreds of people swarming around them. You're going to have the capacity to rub elbows with them all. I'm going to be speaking about the explanation of services because I believe I'm coming up on my 50th anniversary of being in this, and I believe the biggest reason why people fail in our industry is not because they don't see people, they don't know what to say when they see them. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over what makes up an explanation of services, what is the difference between an explanation of services and an elevator pitch, because I used to be known as an elevator pitch guy. And then we're going to talk about ways to communicate so that you can become interesting, not boring, and you can actually become a person of interest where people will follow you with you. And I have had people tell me, oh my gosh, I have to meet with you. I want to share with you, it's easier to do than you think. First, I want to talk about when we are asked, what do you do for a living? I have found in my career that there are really only 2 reasons why somebody asks you, what do you do for a living? One is to quickly dismiss you because I want to put you in a box and quickly determine if I need you or not. So when you respond, I'm a lawyer, I'm a realtor, I'm an insurance guy, I'm an insurance lady. Hey, oh, I have one of those. I'm not interested. Now, the second way, or the second reason why people will ask you, what do you do for a living, is simply to be kind. There might be a void in conversation. There might be dark space where you're sitting or standing next to someone and it's awkward. They'll look at you and say, so what do you do? And have no intention to listen to anything that's going to come out of your mouth. As a matter of fact, they pick up their cell phone and start texting or searching the internet. So when you look at the opportunity of the odds against making any sort of a progress from being asked, what do you do for a living? It's pretty easy to see why a lot of people in our industry not only shun this opportunity, as Jim Ruda will tell you, some of the scariest words in the English language are the 7 words that say, what do you do for a living? We've had people in our group that would specifically at parties, at functions, go out of their way to never be asked, what do you do for a living? I, on the other hand, do exactly the opposite. If there is someone that I want to do business with, I remember first, I am the buyer here. I'm not selling anything. I'm trying to interview the person I'm talking to see if I like them. So what I will do is I will show authentic, sincere curiosity in what they do, why they do it, why they chose to do this over something else. I want to know their background and have them share with me the decision to actually become what it is that they have become. And I want to show sincere interest in them. I want to know about them because my goal is to never get a phone call on a Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock looking at my cell phone going, oh crap. Members, if we have those types of relationships already in our clientele, we chose them. They're ours. We created that problem. There should have been a time in the courting process when you recognized all you were trying to do is chase, prove, persuade, and then you could use language like this. I'm going to bend over backwards. I'll do whatever it takes to earn your business. These are the people where I believe all the complaints come from. You told me I should have done this. This was your recommendation. I only did it because you said I should. I don't do that anymore, people. I am now helping people understand the implications of the financial choices they've already made and helping them understand those financial options that are available to every United States tax-paying citizen if they wish to avoid paying income taxes for the rest of their lives. What I find fascinating about the strategy that we use in the Breakaway League is that every American taxpayer, if they understood how the tax code works, could build accounts that could be used as collateral and never have to file a tax return in retirement. So if you live on the West Coast and you are paying ridiculous amounts of taxes, can you imagine how many appointments you could get if you were to simply ask someone, if I could show you how to stay in this beautiful, sunny state of California and not file a federal nor a state income tax return and qualify for food stamps, government cheese, free cell phones, Obamacare, and you don't even have to file a tax return, would you give me 30 minutes? This is all about sharing your belief. So when someone asks you, what do you do for a living? Let's understand what is really being asked. Again, I'm going to dismiss you because I don't need you, or I was being polite. Now, I hired a business coach back in 2013. I'll explain this in just a minute, what happened to me in 2013. But one of the things that he shared with me that has really stuck out is if you have a negative first impression with someone, it will take 26 positive touches to reverse a negative first impression. And I would argue that the person that you had that negative first impression with will not want to hang around you for 25 opportunities to be persuaded you aren't the royal pain in the butt you thought you were, or they thought you were. So when we take a look at why this explanation of services is so powerful, let me share with you the journey that I have been on. In 2013, I was introduced to 3 events that have changed my life. One of them was watching Simon Sinek's 18-minute, 4-second video on YouTube. I'm sorry, not YouTube, on TED Talk. Start with why. And there's a couple of quotes that he has in his presentation that have still resonated with me 9 years later, almost 10 actually. Excuse me. One of them is, people don't care what you do. They want to know why you do what you do, because what you do simply proves what you believe. Now, when I go around the country teaching this strategy of the explanation of services, it amazes me how many people in my audience that have a financial license do not have a belief of really anything. They believe annuities work, life insurance works, long-term care works, ABC, that all works. We're going to do a little bit of that. I'm going to know a lot about a little, or a little about a lot. And we're trained to know very little about a bunch of stuff because we're taught to go fishing. I never met anybody at top of the table that was a general practitioner. Doesn't mean they're not out there. There aren't very many. The people who specialize in something usually own the space that they're in. So by listening to what you do proves what you believe, why don't we start with the statement, I believe? Let me give you an example. One of the people in our group, when he was asked, what do you do for a living? He would smile at the person and say, while I am prepared to tell you what I do for a living, I am better prepared and enjoy more telling you why I do it. Now, I don't care if he's selling nuts and bolts, furniture, ice cream. You will listen to the rest of the story. If we begin with what we believe, a couple things are happening. I get to lead with passion. I get to lead with tone, cadence, pause, enunciation, all of the good things that are inherent with good communication. And then I get to watch the reaction of the person I'm talking to. And as I'm sharing with these potential prospects and clients what I do for a living, if it's falling on deaf ears, if they're not showing any interest, I will change course. I will change my topic. Oh, look, a squirrel. Now, he had another comment that I still think resonates so well. If any of us are in management, want to be in management, do any type of recruiting at all. As a sales rep, your job is not to go out and find people who need to buy the product you're trying to sell. David, could you mute yourself? Your job as a salesman is not to go out and find people who need to buy the product you're trying to sell. Your job as a salesperson is to simply go out and find people who believe what you believe. And when we don't have a firm belief of anything, those are the same exact people also who have a problem with the referral. And let me tell you why. You have just solidified an event with a prospect, turned them into a client, and they bought a widget. And you're going to ask the client, I get paid two ways. I get paid when you buy the widget, and now you owe me the names of 10 people you can't stand, and you're going to give them to me so that I can go out and bother them. That's the way we typically ask for a referral. Well, think about it. If the only reason why the client knows you is based on the last transaction that you had, then my job is to simply find all of the friends that I have that I think would want to buy what I just bought. They don't know why you do what you do. They don't know the benefit that they get from doing it. They don't have any idea the inner workings of your vision, mission, passion, legacy. All they do is a transaction. Let me tell you when you know you have an advocate. And I speak of advocates as those who will speak on your behalf 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, unsolicited by you. You're standing next to your advocate. Someone walks up to you and says, so what do you do? And your advocate starts to answer for you. And they'll go into such a beautiful diatribe of everything you can do. Sometimes they will embellish and include things that you cannot do. And you have to kind of pull them aside and go, John, wow, I appreciate this enthusiasm, but I don't do all of that. And here's the response you'll get. Yeah, but if you could, Tom, you would. Let me tell you why you have an advocate, because when I ask people in the audience why you have advocates, they're very difficult to answer. I wore the blue suit that day with the brown shoes. I drove the new car that day. It has nothing to do with that. Your advocates, now listen carefully, your advocates understand and can explain why you are in business and do a better job of it than you can. And when we go to some new sales prospect, some client, and we're going to ask them, okay, we just did a whatever, and you now own a whatever. Can you give me 10 names of people so I could go bother them about buying this new whatever? You didn't solve problems, you sold something. Salespeople are very difficult to refer. Problem solvers are easily referred. Our average premium in our group is between 30 and 50,000 a year in annual premium. And I've been known as a big case writer, which I hate. I mean, clients want to put in as much as they possibly can because of the way that we explain what it does. And while I am known as a big case writer, I don't want to be known as a big case writer. I want to be known as helping big clients solve big problems so they can see the benefit why they're doing it. And then when it comes to, do you know anybody else that has a problem like the one you had that we solved? Oh my gosh, let me go get my Rolodex. Oh boy, am I dating myself. It's like Yellow Pages. Anybody seen the Yellow Pages lately? All right. Yeah, that's right, Doug. You haven't seen those in years and years. Now, the second thing that happened to me was reading a book called The Challenger Sale. And The Challenger Sale was really written from two people who wanted to review the 2008 debacle of the real estate crisis. And what they wanted to do, they wanted to analyze those personality traits of salespeople to see which personality trait helped their clients get through probably the worst economic downturn in their lifetime. So they looked at the relationship builder, the lone wolf, the hard worker, the challenger, and the problem solver. Let me briefly explain what each of these were. The lone wolf will never be in a meeting like this. The lone wolf will never come to the professionals forum. The lone wolf, as a matter of fact, won't even go to their own company's convention because they know more than every speaker that's going to stand on stage. They like to bend the rules occasionally. Sometimes it's for their benefit, but sometimes it's for the benefit of their client. But they will surely justify why the rules need to be broken. Then there's the hard worker. The person gets the office at 7 o'clock, stays till 7 o'clock at night, moves paper from one side of their desk to the other, not very productive, but does make an honest effort. Then we have the problem solver. Problem solver loves to gather data, looks at the data, analyzes the data, makes assumptions on those data, and put the data in a computer. The computer analyzes the data, spits out some data. The person reviews the data, makes different assumptions, puts the data back and forth and back and forth. I don't understand those people. I don't get them. I don't see why they exist. I think it's a little bit overkill. Paralysis by analysis is my favorite quote. Then we have the relationship builder, and the relationship builder was really the personality trait that these two authors were trying to prove that, once again, those people who put their arms around their clients never have a complaint. It's the general agents, regional vice presidents, dream come true. They finished last. Last. The world is not a safe place right now. The economy is not wonderful. And don't come to me anymore singing Kumbaya at 2 o'clock on Thursday that the world is a wonderful place. It isn't. It isn't. They finished last. And then there was the challenger. And what was interesting is back in the early 2000, late 2000, first decade of 2008, 2009, I was actually starting my presentations with prospects by saying, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge what you think. I'm going to challenge what you do. And then I'm going to prove to you that what you are thinking is the exact opposite of what will happen based on what you are doing. I didn't realize that, but actually when the book got finished, the challenger was first. So if you have not changed the way that you're selling what it is that you're selling, you need to be aware that your clients are buying differently than they did 10, 15 years ago. Here's the gist of the book. Bring to me a problem I did not know that I had. And more important, bring with you a problem that you solved for someone else down the street that had exactly the same problem I had. Now, you'll never be asked to prove it. Your body language will already say that. But the challenger is looking for solutions to problems they don't know they have. That is all the Breakaway League teaches. Most people do not realize when they want to be debt-free, they're building accounts so large they have no idea the amount of debt that they're going to owe, and they think that is a financial freedom. So we help people understand the implications of their choices. So the Challenger sale really proved to me that what I was doing by not only challenging the way people think, but by giving them an alternative solution, I became extremely referable. Extremely referable. And the reason is that I was solving problems. They didn't even know they had these problems. And the financial services industry doesn't even recognize that there is a problem. I have. I believe the financial system is broken. I have a much more efficient way, and I can prove it. My job is to go around the country and find people who believe what I believe. My job is no longer convince, chase, or prove a darn thing. Here's where you are. Here's what's going to happen to you. And most are not even aware of what they're actually doing. Here's an alternative. And here's what's going to happen in that regard. You don't have to file a tax return. You can qualify for food stamps, government cheese, all of your Social Security, Medicare. You have to file a tax return. You could stay in that beautiful state of wherever you are and not even have to file. If you knew what the rules were on how wealth works, most people would change the course they're in. And the third thing was hiring a coach. And I hired him for one reason, to keep white noise away from me. The older I get, the more focused I am becoming, and I don't want to have distractions. So what I wanted to do was to have someone looking over my shoulder saying, Tom, ignore that. Focus on this, however, but ignore that. Well, have you thought of this? And I was more along the lines of being coached on how to get better at what I already knew. I cannot emphasize enough, by having someone who will help you, that you are paying to help you, the benefits you can get from that. For me, that was a perfect trifecta of the impact it's had on my life since 2013. My income has quadrupled since 2013. And it's not because products got better. We know that for a fact. And it's not because the government got lax. We know that for a fact. I got better. Available if you want to take the course. I have an online course. It's normally $397. It's half off. If you want a discount code, you can go print the workbook, work through it at your pace. You're going to find toxic words that you should never use. You're going to find words that you should use. You're going to be building on passion points, those conversations that you have that you can lead with a smile that quickly tell people why you do what you do. If you think back for a minute, I just want to share with you why most of the people in our industry fail. Insurance companies have what's called a marketing department, and the marketing department is usually comprised of people that are under the age of 30. They have a degree in colors, combinations of blues and greens, and how those hues match one another, and the conflict that the colors orange and red have. So they put these beautiful presentation pieces together about features and benefits and words to use, and then they send it to the legal department. And the legal department scratches through that paragraph, rewrites that paragraph, says you need to work this paragraph this way, make sure you don't use that word, and you have to say this. And then they give it back to you and say, now go out in the world and become unique. We look alike, we sound alike, we all drive the same cars. We're trying to be unique in a commoditized world where we are not allowed to be unique. I've made a career out of trying to be unique. I did not want to be or look like or sound like any financial advisor that I knew of. I wanted to share with what I believe, why I believe it. Now, when you start really analyzing your why, there's something that we all need to be aware of. We need to put these 5 statements together where if you can put them all in congruent with one another, the conversation and the content, then you found your why and your belief statement. This is what I believe. This is why I believe what I believe. This is to whom I wish to share my belief. This is the benefit someone who believes as I do will enjoy once they become my prospective client. Do you believe as I do? Now, it amazes me how many people cannot put sentences together about themselves, about what they believe, why they believe it, to whom they wish to share it, the benefit their clients get from doing business with them, because they do not have a belief. I want to very quickly just use an analysis of an old-fashioned wagon wheel. You remember what a wagon wheel looks like? There's a beautiful conglomeration of wood at the hub. That's called the knuckle, the hub of the wheel. And from that is these spokes, these wooden spokes that go out and support the rest of the wheel. Your knuckle, your firm belief, the core value of why you do what you do, should be the driving force with everything that you do. And it's when we vacillate, when we don't understand what we're saying, we sound discombobulated, and very few people are going to put a lot of money into someone who can't even definitively say what they do for a living. I'm also going to mention that your delivery of this explanation of services needs to be memorized. Now, for me, the last time I memorized something was second grade in 1962. I had to memorize Charles Glenn circumventing the world in little capsule. I was nervous. I had to memorize about a 20-second, 30-second speech about John Glenn. Never been more nervous. But let me tell you, when somebody asks you, what do you do for a living? There's normally a knee-jerk reaction of panic. Panic. You'll either drop your eyes to the floor, losing contact with the person, or search at the ceiling looking for the words to use, analyze the watch they're wearing, look at their shoes to see if they're classy or not, try to figure out the car they drove in with so you could see if they're wealthy or not. Dumbest thing you could do. I know exactly what I'm going to say, how I'm going to say it, because all of the words are memorized. And when I memorize the delivery, it affords me the privilege to watch the reaction. And if I change the subject. Now, again, when I meet someone for the first time, my goal is to show authentic, sincere curiosity in what they do. Now, naturally, the conversation should come back to me. If it doesn't, I'm done. The worst thing you could do is to say, so what do you do for a living? Ignore the response, could care less what they say, and just wait to be asked, so what do you do for a living? And then pounce on them. Dumbest sales trick in the world. It's very transparent, very unauthentic, cheesy. Don't do it. So I'm going to ask a bunch of questions. Why did you do that? What degree did you have that made that so special? How long have you been doing this? I want to show sincere curiosity and enthusiasm and why they do it. When it comes back to me, when they say, wow, Tom, thank you, I own the rest of the conversation. I know exactly where it's going to go. They have no idea. I already do. I know what's going to happen to them. I'm either going to, in 18 seconds or less, find someone who believes as I do, or I'm going to dispel them. I'm going to discard them and let them go. I want to share with you my EOS. There's 3 parts to an EOS. A statement of fact, led with the words, I believe, an example of what you have done for someone else, sharing the benefits they receive by doing business with you, and then a question of inclusion, so that when I ask, there's action generated. The difference between an EOS and an elevator pitch, the elevator pitch is just designed to create interest. 2 people enter an elevator, both push floor 9, and the person says, what do you do for a living? Hoping to be able to say, here's my business card. I never in 50 years got a piece of business from giving a business card to anyone. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. Sure as heck never happened with me. The EOS, when properly done, will create action. Either I'm going to let you go. That's positive action for me. I just discovered someone who was going to waste 6 months of my life chasing them. Or I'm going to find someone who believes what I do, and I can quickly then move on to an opportunity to do some work together. When I'm asked, what do you do for a living? Here's my response. I've never had more fun in my life than I'm having right now, helping the average American understand how true wealth works. And I compare that to simply math or chasing rates of returns. On average, our firm is finding between $30,000 and $50,000 a year per household in wealth that slips through their hands because they don't understand how wealth works with fees, taxes, or interest. Now, if I sat down with you over a cup of coffee and in 10 minutes, I found $10,000 that you were losing, would you want it back? Now, based said no. Wow. Okay. Next. There's 350 million people in this country. How many people do you think would want to say yes to that comment? 300, 3,000, 30,000. And then we sit here and buy lists of rich, stupid people because we're hoping that if I can just convince somebody who doesn't know anything, but has a lot of money, they're going to buy from me. I want to go over two examples now, both on an airplane, and two completely different results, but I consider a win on both. At my age and in my stage of my career, me anymore, time is. So the second was a success because of time. The first was a success, money. But I want you to understand completely different results, yet both were positive. I want to use an explanation of services to find people who are going to waste my time. By default, I'm going to find people that are attracted to that conversation. But by default, I also want to look at someone and say, man, you don't get it at all. I'm not staying here any longer. The first is an example to Fort Lauderdale. And I was sitting in first class, and I normally listen on headphones to Yanni and just zone out. I get a lot of business done by just mentally checking out and just thinking. Before I could put my headset on, this gentleman, well-dressed gentleman in a suit and tie, sitting next to me says, so what do you do for a living? Big smile on his face. Now, I don't recommend you do this. And for those of you that have heard me before, you know the comical nature of this. I took my finger and I pointed it to him. I said, I teach people just like you how to accumulate as much wealth as you want off the radar screen of the IRS for income tax purposes using the current income tax code that is 109 years old. He said, what? And I started to laugh. I said, I've never had more fun. I'm sharing with people how to accumulate as much money as they want in an account that's guaranteed to be worth more, and they can live on a stream of cash flow from it and never have to file a tax return. He says, my gosh, that sounds fascinating. Would you teach me? Now, a couple things. Today he would be a client, but I had just written the first edition of the book, The Explanation of Services, How to Answer the Question, What do you do for a living? And I wanted to prove to myself that having something to say was so much more important than finding someone to say it to. And I said, no. And he looked at me shocked. He goes, you're not going to teach me? And I said, sir, I mean, no disrespect. I really don't. I don't have any personal clients anymore. My clients are actually financial advisors. I'm on my way down to Fort Lauderdale to teach 27 of them how to get their clients' net worth off the radar screen of the IRS for income tax purposes. He looked at me and he said, I have 7 people flying with me back in coach. 4 of them are financial advisors. Would you teach them? And I said, hell no. No, I'm not going to teach them. He says, you're not going to teach me or them? And I said, no, sir, I don't mean any disrespect, but I just don't have any personal clients anymore. And then what he said to me next, again, today he would be a client. He looked at me and he said, let me tell you who you're sitting next to. Now, I knew what was going to come out of his mouth. He was very wealthy. He told me what he did for a living. I looked at him and I laughed and I said, you're rich. He goes, yes, I am. He said, this sounds like it'd be perfect for me. I said, I know it would be. And you're not going to show me? I said, no, sir. Now, here's my point. See, I did not call Delta on that day stating, please put someone in 4C as I will be sitting in 4D and make sure they're healthy, bring a checkbook, want to buy life insurance, big dollars, and make sure we got at least an hour and a half on our flight. When I ask people in the audience, how many people did you see last week? I'll usually get a number shouted out. 7, 15, 3. I didn't have any. The question was, how many people did you see, not how many appointments you had. Pre-COVID, the average person saw well over 200 people a week, and unfortunately had nothing to say to 190. What if I could teach you how to start the conversation, how to become the person of interest, how to be asked, what do you do for a living, so that you can control the rest of the conversation? That's what the EOS course will teach you. Now, I was flying second time, this time from Nashville to Dallas, and we had our quarterly meeting in Dallas. And I was sitting next to a woman who was extremely well dressed and extremely wealthy. She had a diamond on her right hand, a single diamond the size of a quarter. Not a bunch of diamonds, one big diamond. So I had no windows to jump out, doors to run through. I had an hour and 54-minute flight to Dallas. We start to take off. We have a wonderful conversation. She's very, very cordial. And we start talking about airplanes. I have a twin engine Cessna. She has a jet. She's complaining that her jet is too slow. We had very little in common. We did start talking about Simon Sinek, however, and I said, oh my gosh, I want to meet Simon. She said, why? And I said, because he has helped me find my why. I want to thank him. And she goes, I know Simon. I don't know him personally, but I have met him a couple of times. What is so fascinating with Simon? And I said, he really did help me quantify why I'm in business. And she said, well, what is your why? Now people, I thought I nailed this. Didn't take my finger this time and pointed at her. But I said, you know what? I've never had more fun. I want to teach every United States tax-paying citizen how true wealth works. And I want to compare that to math or chasing rates of returns so that if anyone I'm sharing this information with were to act on anything I know in my head, they could retire legally and not even have to file a tax return. Looking at the size of the quarter, that ring on her finger, I thought, man, she could buy every financial product, service I could represent. She'd be a good client. And within an eighth of a second, she looked at me and said, what if we don't mind paying taxes? Now, I almost threw up in my mouth. I looked at her and I said, we're just not a good fit. Now, what I would have done probably 7, 8 years ago, I would have gotten her email. I would have sent her a box of chocolates, a leather-bound binder of every financial product and tool that I could represent, hoping to convince this woman that I have something that she should buy. I looked at her and said, we're just not a good fit. We had a wonderful conversation. We got to the airport. Her gate was not open. We were sitting on the tarmac for 30 minutes. She was on her way to Tokyo to speak at a international women's organization. She was the keynote speaker. They held a 777 for 30 minutes until she got on board. There was a Porsche Cayenne waiting for her at the bottom of the stairs on the gangplank so that she could be driven across the airport in Dallas to her international flight to leave for Tokyo. As she's putting her coat on, she looks at me and she says, so what do you think of Dave Ramsey? And I looked at Dave Ramsey and I said, the funny thing is, I looked at her thinking about Dave Ramsey and I said, the funny thing is, I don't think about him at all. Now, again, if we understood what the purpose of an EOS is, it's to find people who believe what I believe. I don't want to pay taxes that are unnecessary. I don't want to pay taxes that I know go to Ukraine to buy another F-16. I don't want to pay taxes to help someone who doesn't want to better themselves. I'm not going to prison because I'm not paying them, though. But that doesn't make me happy for paying them. What if we don't mind paying them? I don't know of many people like that. I can't relate to many people like that. I sure as heck wouldn't invite people like that to my home. When do you want to know the person you're talking to will never buy from you? Not only will they never buy from you, if you convinced them to, they are a pending lawsuit waiting to happen. Would you take them? Just because someone can write a check, I'm hoping, does not show you why you should take them as a client. If you saw a couple bickering over there on the other side of the cocktail party, and one is being very mean to the other, and the person that was being mean walked up to you and says, by the way, I have $1 billion in this checkbook, and I know you sell X, Y, and Z. I'd like to buy one of those. I hope you have the courage to look at the person with honor and say, I don't want your business. I've been broke. I've been in a contest. I know what it's like to be desperate. I've done things selling that I'm not very happy with because those are where the problems were born. But as I move forward, I do my darndest to push people away. Look, this is a lot of money and every dime of it is yours. If you do not understand what we are doing, I don't want you to do it. But if you truly understood why 22% of all the cash values in all the insurance policies are owned by the wealthiest 1%, you might want to rethink what is going on and what is happening that you are not a part of. But I'm not going to convince you. There's 13,000 books at Amazon written about the power of permanent life insurance. 13,000. When someone says to me, call me in 6 months, I will reply, no, I won't call you in 6 months, but I will ask you to go read about 3,000 of those 13,000 books, do a book report, and call me back in 6 months. I want to find people who believe what I believe or who don't. And those people who don't saved time. Those people that do are wonderful clients. Refer out the kazoo because of the problems that we are fixing. I want to go over the 3 scenarios of where an explanation of services is shared. There are 3 different ways of when you give an explanation of services, 3 different preparations for it, 3 different expectations. So the first is a formal setting. And in a formal setting, I don't know who I'm talking with. Haven't found them long enough, haven't talked to them long enough. I don't know much about them. That person was thrust into my life rather quickly. And when they ask, what do I do for a living? I'm assuming it's one of those 2 reasons. They either want to quickly dismiss me or they're simply being polite. In that case, I will respond very politely with a statement of fact, usually given with the words, I believe this, and I excuse myself and walk away. I will not engage any further. Now, here's it's called a formal setting, and here's why this works so efficiently. If I'm in an area where I have other prospects or clients that have done business with me or in the same location, here's what I'm going to do when I'm approached by someone I don't know. If it's at a cocktail party, for example, I'll go up to several of my clients and say, who is this person? Where do they live? Are they happily married? Do they love their family? Are they responsible? And here's what that person's going to do after they hear very quickly what it is that I do. They're going to go around saying, who is this Tom guy? Now, here's an opportunity for your clients to speak about you on your behalf, unsolicited by you. Now, every time I've ever done that, where I have gone out of my way to stop the conversation so that I could dismiss the opportunity to either be scolding or be scolded. Oh, you're an Amway salesman. Oh, you sell term. Or listen to the barrage of insults. I will politely excuse myself and walk away. More often than not, that person by the end of the event will come up to me and say, I really should talk to you. I've heard nothing but good things about you. So in a formal setting, it's just the statement of fact. You don't give examples, and you're sure as heck not asking them to do business because you don't even know if they're a felon or not. Now, the second scenario is a social setting, and let me set this up. You're at a cocktail party. You're in the living room of this wonderful home. You are holding a beverage of choice, and walking up to you is the mayor of your wonderful city, who is also holding a beverage of their choice. That person looks at you and says, so, what do you do for a living? Now, you have an opportunity to think of that hub, that knuckle of that wheel. Here's what I believe, why I believe it, to whom I wish to share the benefit they get from doing business with me. Do you believe as I do? And we're not going to say that quickly because I have time to build a relationship. I will share enthusiastic, sincere curiosity in what they do, why they do it, how they do it unique. And if they do ask me, what do I do for a living? I will share not only what I do and why I do it, but I'm going to also share the benefits that I have helped other people achieve because they worked with me. Now, I've got an opportunity then to have many conversations. Again, think of those spokes on the wheel, many conversations that are built around what I firmly believe. And then if I'm still seeing that they are following my conversation, they're engaging, they're looking at my eyes, and they're not distracted by the stuff that's being shared with others around them, I will go in for the close. You know, ma'am, sir, if I could do exactly the same thing for you as I have done for countless numbers of others, would you like to get together? Now, again, in that scenario, I'm going to go through the whole thing. If I meet someone or if I'm in an area and I see someone that I want to meet, I will be the one who will engage in conversation initially. Think of this, the 200 people that we get to see all the time. What if we could learn conversation starters? What if we could learn questions to ask someone that was sounding authentic and you were sincere and you were truly interested in that person? And then they asked you, what do you do for a living? You have already established a relationship at some kind, and now you get to build off of that. Or just as equally important, find out that the person is a spastic moron. You don't want to do any business with them, and you can simply walk away. Again, when do you want to know you're dealing with someone who will never, ever buy from you? Now, the third example is the referral setting. And as a result of this, I actually wrote a book, Turning Clients into Advocates. It's easier than you think. And it's all about the referral setting, the referral setting. This is the most difficult to master. It is the most time consuming to master. And it will also be your most financially rewarding if done correctly. However, it can also be the most financially damaging if done incorrectly. So there needs to be some thought in this. Our clients know us based on our last transaction. Now, you might have a wonderful lobby with your vision, mission statement on the wall, and the drapes match the carpet, and the leather chairs are suited so it's warm and fuzzy. The feng shui is perfect. Now, you've never read your mission statement or your vision statement. You don't even know what it says, but it looks nice in the lobby. There's something called Pareto principle, P-E-R-A-T-O. Pareto principle is the 80-20 rule. And unfortunately, I've known about this all my career, yet I still find myself falling prey to spending 80% of my time with the people that are providing 20% of my income. And I would argue that most of us on this call would rather spend 80% of our time with the people providing 80% of our income. But historically, that doesn't happen. So you have to think of Pareto when you're developing your plan of attack. You will have an agenda. And on the agenda, you're going to be able to write down what you would like your ideal client to look like. Here you can really let your mind go. I want a one-eyed pharmacist with one leg practicing east of the Mississippi. Now, if that was my message and I was able to say that succinctly enough, long enough for as many years, within 3 years, I'm going to have one-eyed pharmacists hopping around their pharmacy somewhere on the East Coast because it's what I'm asking for. But because people know us based on our last transaction, watch what happens. I was doing an annual review with a client of mine. At the time, I worked with John Hancock. Maybe you've heard of them, second most recognized logo in the world. And I was doing an annual review with my client, and I looked down on his desk, and he has a State Farm life insurance policy dated 6 months ago. And I looked down and I said, John, you just bought this? Yeah, I needed some life insurance. I didn't know you sold it. Why? Do you sell life insurance too? John Hancock? Ever heard of him? Well, I bought an IRA from you, and that's all I thought you did. Whose fault is it that that client has no idea why I do what I do, to whom I do it with, or how it affects anyone? It's my fault. My fault. So here, when I put this agenda together, I get to finally share with my client a couple of wonderful things. By the way, you've never had this conversation with your client. If you had, I stand corrected. I haven't met anyone that has. You're going to begin your conversation with 2 words. And all the alpha people on the call, you're not going to use these 2 words, but you should. You're going to begin with, I'm sorry. And you're probably asking yourself, what should I be sorry about? Oh my God, everything. You have a wonderful relationship with this person, and they have no idea why you are in this business. They have no idea the impact you want to have on the world, the vision, the mission, the legacy that you want to have. They don't understand that knuckle and the cogs of the wheel and the impact that you've had on people. This is the first time you get to share with your potential advocate why you are in business. And you're going to say, you know, John, here's why I'm sorry. Unfortunately, something called Pareto principle requires 80% of my time spending with the people that are giving me 20% of my revenue. And I would like to flip that. I would love to spend more time with people just like you. Here's what I'm looking for. I would like this demographic, this area of the city, this income level, this net worth, this gender. You can go nuts with this. And watch the reaction of the client. Your client who knows you, likes you, trusts you, is already writing you checks, looks at you and goes, oh my God, Tom, is that all you want? I've got 20 people just like that that would love to talk to you. I didn't know you did. It's our fault they don't know us. I hired a coach back in 1996, and he said, what I want you to do is to, as you're driving your car, pull off the road, slam the brakes on, turn your seat around, because your back seat is filled with people who already know you, like you, trust you, write you checks, believe in you. And all you do is look at the front windshield looking for the next sale. Reintroduce yourself to these people. You'll have referrals out to kazoo. Now, one caution, and I'm going to open it up to questions. Do not, at any level, do any business on this appointment. If you do, you're a cheap sales rep. Don't do it. This is not a selling opportunity. This isn't a bait and switch. It's not a quid pro quo. It is a sincere, honest attempt to start off your relationship by telling these people how important they have been in your life. I'm sorry, Joe, and here's why I'm sorry. You have no idea why I do what I do, yet you are personally responsible for so much success that I've enjoyed. Here's what I'm looking for. And if they say, oh my gosh, you know, I'm so glad you're here. I need to buy $16 trillion of life insurance for estate planning. Could you put this in an eyelet for me? And if you pick out an application from your briefcase, you should be ashamed and quit and go open a Taco Bell. You have blown the best opportunity of your life to develop an advocate that will refer you out his kazoo for the rest of their life, and you turned it into an opportunity to make a sale. Don't do that. They most often will want to do some more business together because you've just shared with them everything you do, the legacy you want to leave. And finish it with this. John, we're going to talk about this soon. Let me get back to you. But right now, this is all about you. It has nothing to do with me. You want to turn a client into an advocate? It's easier than you think. And just remember, your advocate is able to explain why you do what you do with more elegance, and with more passion than you can. Thank you very much. I'll open it up for questions. If you have any questions, if you could for me, fire up your webcam. We've got 10 minutes. Go from speaking 100 miles an hour to a dead stop. Wow. Anybody? Bruce, you've heard me about 4,000 times. What did you learn today? Unmute.
I didn't know it was quite that often, but each time you talk, I learn a little something
What did you learn today that you had not heard?
that I need to change my practice and do the things that you say and try to become a source of information for people.
Good. David, how about you? David, it's Hall, right?
Right. I'm curious to where to get that book that you were talking about, Turning Clients into Advocates.
Yeah, David's going to put that up in the chat window. Oh
Okay.
yeah, the discount code for the EOS course is TBL 2023, and it's only good for 30 days. Then the code goes away. It's available on Amazon.
Okay. I was just putting it in on Amazon, it didn't come up, so maybe I'm doing something wrong. Anyway, a lot of things you said make a lot of sense. I know going back to your clients, because I've found I've been doing this for like 30 years and I should be like doing better, but I guess we all learn. The EOS, I've always learned to do a 30-second commercial. The EOS makes a little more sense because people don't really know why you do things. And it's good to let them know that why you're doing what you're doing, not just to get paid. And
Right.
You talk to other agents, a lot of times they don't have any idea why they're doing things. So I agree with you 100%. And going back to your clients for referrals, and not just for a sale. I have a tendency to do that, but I stopped doing it because it worked. So I'll have to start doing that again.
Typical sales. If it works twice, man, I'm stopping. That's too good. That success rate's too high. Rama, how about you? You're still muted.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm listening to you. And incidentally, because of David Kinder, I'm here and I'm learning. And I'm very proud the way you are speaking. And generally, we give our business card. Even I used to give, and I give now also. But after listening to your I'll change myself. And once there is a value in what I talk, definitely customers will accept me. And I'm very new to this industry, let me be honest with you. And this group of David Kinder Facebook group is giving a lot of knowledge. That is the only group I find which gives knowledge. Even though I'm licensed since last 6 years, I didn't venture into life insurance because of different people talking different. But now I can say I'm there, and I'm going to be there in the industry because you see, I'm a realtor and mortgage loan officer. Incidentally, I was a bank CEO back in India. So life insurance gives a lot of advantages where we are there with people. I mean, your approach is also the approach to be successful. And it gives a lot of satisfaction, to be honest. For me, I am also, as you said rightly, old man. So 68 years old. Thank you so much, Thomas. Thank
My
you
pleasure.
so much.
Pleasure. Myro, how about you? Can you unmute yourself? John, I know you're in Hawaii? No, Antonio is in the middle of the Pacific. John, if anyone want to pop in, I'm curious as to the biggest takeaway from the group. Steve, Ron, how about yourself?
Well, first of all, thank you. You gave a lot of value. I was particularly struck by the way that you quickly turned around the question, what do you do? And answered with, I would be much more passionate telling you why I do what I do over what I do. And then leading into that. I have found something, I'd like to see some shorter version too, because what I've been using for about the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years is I tell people I help them retire. And I get a lot of interesting feedback from that.
I'm sure you do. And there's a time where, look, if I'm at a bar and somebody wants to challenge me, I have a blast. I'll start off with some stupid comment. We call them power bombs or phrases that kind of put people in their ear. I don't mind doing that at all. It's just at the beginning, we've got to be careful. Our average premium is pretty huge. I mean, last couple of weeks, we submitted another $500,000 case. We've got a guy that did $1 million premium. Those people want to know a lot more than I just want to help people retire. And they want to know the more in depth of what do you do different than everybody else. So I start off in a completely professional way, but there are times where out of fun and in spite, I'll throw a bomb out to knock somebody on their butt just because I want to watch the reaction.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example. I'm in Nashville, and so is that Radiohead that we all love in our industry. And I say, so you want to be debt free when you retire, I'll bet, right? Do you have an IRA, 401k, 403b, 457, Simple SEP, SARSEP pension, or profit sharing plan? You will never be debt free, ever. And they look at me like I've got a third eyeball, and then I walk away. You have no clue, and I walk away. And usually they follow me because they want to know what I just teased them with. So there are times, Steve, when I'll do that, when I will do that. But I want to, again, as I said in the beginning, if it's someone I want to do business with, I will start the conversation with authentic, sincere curiosity and what and when and why and where and how they do what they do.
Yeah.
And then if it comes back to me, which I'm hoping, I own the rest of the conversation. If it never gets back to me, I got to go find some of the 350 million people who want to build an account that's never subject to an income tax.
Yeah, I think that's all good. And I agree with you. When I'm on my game, have the mentality of trying to ask the question in or out quickly.
And I can't tell you how many relationships I've wasted my life on. And I have since then met this woman that sat next to me in first class. I don't think she would recognize me from Adam, but you know, I did a meeting with Van and Jim through David Kinder, Van Miller and Jim Ruda. And Dave has access to it. It's a 2-hour meeting between the three of us, and we had a blast doing it. And so I was saying what I was doing to this woman, and Van says, well, I would have done this. I would have asked this, this, and this, and this, and probably Van would have made her a client. I wanted to prove to myself, I don't want to do business with people who don't believe me and don't believe what I do. I got out of the convincing game. I don't make recommendations anymore. What I do is I help people understand the implications of what they've already done, expose the pitfalls of the problems they bought or inherited because they don't have a prospective professional advisor that understands how wealth works. I was a fiduciary for 42 years, and I was forbidden to talk about the implications of the choices that I was recommending. You want to be debt-free, and I'm telling you to maximize your 401k plan? That's a lawsuit. It's a hypocritical statement. And I was told I can't talk about taxes. So I finally said, what is it going to take to be able to be honest with my client? And they said, give up your registration. I said, done. Here you go. Now I can have honest conversations with clients. I put there, look, if I start with the end in mind, if I could share with you what's going to happen with what you're already doing, you are going to recognize that what you're doing isn't going to achieve what you want. And only then, once a problem has been acknowledged, will they look at a solution. I can't go into it with a conversation with a solution in hand if they don't understand that they have a problem. Yet in sales, that's exactly what we are told to do. Anybody else?
Tom, we got some stuff in the chat there.
Yeah, let me read this. In some context, the answer to what you do, it's who I am, is more interesting than what I do. Good. Started to move on to answering what I do. Thoughts? Myra, I don't understand the question. I'm old and frail and stupid. So can you, I don't get it. Do you understand the question, David?
Well, he changed it to be more about himself as opposed to what I'm doing for other people. That's what it sounded like to me.
You can do that, but I would be turned off. Look, if I said, here's why I do what I do. I want to sell big insurance policies so I can own a Rolls Royce. Now, remember, Simon Sinek says, if you want to find your why, it's I want to, so that. The I want to is all about you, your vision, mission, legacy, passion. And the so that part is singular, articulate, and written for the benefit of somebody else. So if the conversations come back to me, I'm not interested. I go buy a Taco Bell. I'm not going to support you so that you can own a Rolls Royce. Now, if I'm understanding the question differently, if I'm telling you why I do what I do so that you understand who you're working with, I love that idea. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's fine. The more you can expose who you are, what you do, think of the knuckle again on that wagon wheel, that hub. Here's what I believe. This is why I believe it. Now, if you believe like me, man, you're gonna be my best friend. And you and I are gonna walk to financial freedom. Rather than sit across the table saying, you're doing it wrong, I have a better way, you're stupid, shut up and listen, I'm brilliant. And that's kind of the way most of us are taught. Let me share with you why you should be doing this. Here's proof. Here's a spreadsheet. Oh my God. No. No more spreadsheets out of my office. Not going to happen anymore. Pablo, sorry, arrived late. Might have missed the context, but can you explain the logic behind the qualified plan question? Write the question down for me if you would. Oh, if you have an IRA similar. Oh, okay. So when somebody says, Pablo, I want to be debt free. when I retire, I want to be debt free. They think that means no house payment, no car payment, no credit card payment. Yet they got $1 million in an account they can't calculate the amount of debt they owe, called a qualified retirement plan. You want to be debt free? Get rid of the qualified retirement plan. I love my son's quote. You do not need a retirement plan to retire. You need money. Just money. Where it is more important than what it could earn. If I could show you having $1 million in life insurance will spend more than if you have 3 million in an IRA. Would you give me 30 minutes? I'll prove it to you, and I'll give you the calculator. You can push the buttons, but I'll give you the facts, and we will go through how wealth works. Here's another question that I love. If I could show you how putting $100,000 a year away for 10 years, not even breaking even, will spend better than you earning 10% guaranteed for the next 10 years in an IRA, would you give me 30 minutes? That's what we do. Do you have an easy way to pick your ideal client? Yes, David, lead with it. Here's what I'm looking for. Share with people what you're looking for and tell them why you're looking for them. When somebody asks me all the time, what is your ideal client? Listen how stupid this is. Someone who can fog a mirror and can believe what I believe. I don't care how much money they make. I don't care what their net worth is. And my presentation does not deviate based on your income. Because if you can't do it, maybe your parents can. Maybe you can't, but maybe your uncle can. You can't, but you're going to inherit millions. So my conversation is always the same. I don't know who's going to buy from me. I don't know when. I do know I will make a sale. I don't know when, and I don't know to whom, but I will make one. So basically you explain loans. No, I'm explaining debt. And then I'm explaining having money in the right spot where I can collateralize it, spend somebody else's money, and leave mine intact with me. I don't even have to file a tax return. There are 5 ways I can retire using collateral and not have to file a tax return. 5. All deal with collateral. All deal with products. 1 is life insurance. I believe it's the best of the 5 choices because it's the only one where the lender, the insurance company, guarantees the growth of the asset they've loaned against. The other 4 have no guarantee at all. So when you look at how collateral works, it's absolutely fascinating to me to recognize the only asset that you own that is by law forbidden to be collateralized is the largest account you own, called a retirement plan. Look, following typical financial advice will put you in harm's way. It will. The more you want to succeed, the more typical financial advice will harm you. Harm you. And this is one of my favorite quotes. What you have done to get you to where you are today cannot be used to get you to where you want to go. Can't do it. You can stay status quo. What you are attracted to, you have to change course. And change, by the way, is a bitch. It ain't easy. It is not easy. I get it. Not everybody can. But if you're willing to put forth the pain it's going to take to achieve financial independence, I will be your best friend. So if the question seems too basic and just a regular carrier illustration software, we do not use illustrations, Pablo. We on a yellow pad explain how everything works on a yellow pad. I could draw for you an illustration of how it works because I've done so many of them, but I will not let the computer be the focal point because people will look at the life insurance as the solution, and it isn't. It's understanding the problem is the solution to the sale. It's not buying the life insurance. And I don't know if you heard what I just said. Life insurance is not the solution to the sale. Understanding the problem you are solving is the solution. That's when you become referred. You solved my problem. And in solving it, I used one of those collateralized methods. And we had all 5 of them that we could review. There are 6 tax codes that use the word exempt, where distributions cannot be put on a tax return. 6. All of them reference life insurance. So if you really understood what the code says, you probably would change course. But if your desire is to be debt-free when you retire and you own any of those things I said, you're never going to be debt-free. You will always be filing tax returns, always. And what I find fascinating about the strategy that we employ is that every United States citizen can stop filing tax returns if they understood what Warren Buffett's doing with margin accounts. That's one of the 5 ways of retiring and not filing a tax return, using a margin account. You cannot use an IRA, though, as collateral. Just by putting it on a loan application, not making a dime of withdrawal, you have taxed and made subject to penalty the whole amount. You cannot collateralize your largest asset. Now you can your house, but you look at that going, I just paid the damn thing off. It took me 30 years. I'm not going to get another 30-year mortgage. Well, you could. You could. Antonio, any comments?
Not so much of a comment. I'm actually coming off a disability from last year. I was on disability for 11 months, so kind of getting reacquainted, hearing you again, just to get my brain working again. It's been mush.
You okay?
You know, got the little cancer scare, but you know, it's I'm alive. Uninsurable right now, but alive. And I got all my coverage shortly before all that happened. So, but we're good.
Just remember, 5 years from now, you'll be fine again.
Right.
Cross your fingers. Cross your fingers. Well, good. Welcome back to the real world.
Thanks.
Anybody else have a comment? Is anyone coming to the professionals forum? Anybody want more information on that? David, you want to put that in the chat window? Thank you.
Hey,
And
Tom,
also, does anybody on the call want the discount code or will be going to get the EOS course?
yes.
Okay.
Hey, Tom,
Mhm.
you had mentioned the last time I heard you about a training called the Curve. Can you speak of that?
Yeah, I was speaking in Canada at this Canada Sales Congress in September, and all of the speakers were top of the table producers, and all of them pretty much had a common theme throughout their presentation. They all followed a process. And I looked at them, it was getting, you know, where people were starting to put Christmas ornaments up and decorations. And when I got back, I was talking to my business partner here, and I said, you know, everybody had a wonderful conversation. They were all very successful, but they were really nothing more than ornaments on a tree. And I used to teach that way in the Breakaway League. I would tell people, here's another sales idea. Here's another thing that I got. I understood. I was passionate about it. And I was trying to teach neutral expectation. Again, some will, some won't. So what? But if they're not willing to let a sale go by looking for one that will, that's kind of tough when you're 30 days past due on a mortgage. So we started to talk about the tree. What is the tree? And where do you go to get fundamental education on the tree? So we sat down and we spent 4 hours going over identifying the traits of successful salespeople. We came up with words like belief, passion, product knowledge, communication. Most of the people that keep coming back and listening to me come back because of the words we use, the way we use them, the passion, the uniqueness. I get it. And that's so far up on the curve because my belief is on the ground floor. So we sat down, Bo is my partner's name, and I'm a firm believer in Simon Sinek, and Simon Sinek says, start with why. Bo said to me in one of our meetings, he goes, Simon's wrong. And I went, uh-oh, what do you mean? You start with belief. And every why I've ever heard can be scaled back one level. What made you say that? Why did you use those words? It's because of something I believe. So we started the curve and we talk about purpose. The first level of this is purpose, which is comprised of belief, why, and passion. Then we move on to drive, because according to resources, two things I'm not supposed to be able to teach people is passion and drive. I have found out now I can. If I can help you understand how powerful having a belief is, you can have your own passion and your own drive. And from that is product knowledge, and then accountability. And accountability is after the first tipping point. I call the first three levels frustration. This is where we lose most of the people in the financial services world, because they can't find something they believe in. There is very little passion and very little drive, because we've been taught features and benefits are all that people care about. Wrong. Wrong. This first tipping point moves into the success portion of the curve. I actually call it success, which is those holding themselves accountable, understanding the art of communication, and learning to be unique. And then there's another tipping point. Who in the hell wants to be like Van Miller, where you make top of the table in 2 weeks? Those people are committed goofballs, lunatics. They are so driven. But what they'll do is they'll go back through that whole curve, Butch, and they'll start doing the 1% changes on each of those 6 levels prior to that and mastering it. We had a guy in our group, still here, that makes a couple $1 million a year, very successful. He was about to leave the group. I was telling him about how we were doing the curve, and he goes, "Oh my God." He says, "Tom, one thing I cannot question is your conviction. On a scale of 1 to 10, your conviction is a 12. I hope I can get to that point at some time." And I said, I will help you get there. He went right back to the first level, and he will not leave the first level until he masters it. He wrote his first $1 million premium this month, and he now is committed to writing $1 million of premium a month because of what he's learning in the curve. So most people do not get out of the success portion where I'm holding myself accountable, learning how to speak differently and be unique. Most people find comfort there. But what I'm doing is, this is the first time in 50 years I can identify why some people in the Breakaway League killed it quickly and why others failed. And when they were failing, my solution, I thought, was another ornament, another sales bomb. And that was so wrong. Now I'm taking everybody back to the basics. It's a course that we're going to be launching here, Butch, in the forum. We're figuring it out right now. What we're going to do is we're going to probably put this training course together that's normally like $7 grand. And it's going to be for 3 months, where you're going to get one-on-one with me, and we're going to go over goals and vision and mission and passion and belief statements and why and all of that stuff on an individual basis. But we're going to be meeting in a group setting. That's going to be announced here pretty soon. Just be on the lookout for it. If you come to the forum, it'll be half off. We'll be probably announcing it in 2 weeks once we get here to Nashville. David, we haven't even talked about that, but that's kind of where we're headed.
That sounds pretty cool to me. So,
I think you would think it would be worth at least that, wouldn't you? With what you're discovering with it?
oh yeah, there's a lot of value, a lot of introspection and everything that it is eye-opening. It really is. So, and it's the model that the industry needs.
Well, the whole purpose why I'm doing the forum is I want to give back. It's not, as Hagna says, it's the only event put on by producers for producers. We'll have an insurance company sponsor, but the president of the company is going to be introducing one of the speakers. That's it. And their name's going to be on a flyer, but they're not going to get up stage and talk about product. As a matter of fact, the speakers are kind of forbidden to talk about product or company. So it's all about giving back. And I think that's what our industry needs. The art of communication, how to become interesting, how to become a person of interest, making life insurance and annuities a want rather than a need. Okay. I'm 17 minutes over. You guys you're getting a lot of bang here for your buck. Oh, how much was this course? Oh,
It's costing me anyway.
Tom, you're a ray of sunshine in this business.
thank you. Thank you. I'm going to make my mission right now. We're at the CMA auditorium. But my goal, my vision is to fill Bridgestone Arena with people who want to just learn the art of communication. I want to make MDRT look like a church event. It'll hold 20,000. I'd love to see 20,000 hungry people that want to learn how to talk. Yeah. All right, everybody, you have a great weekend. Good seeing many of you again. For the new people, appreciate meeting you, and thank you for spending the afternoon with me. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you.